All right. Hey guys, welcome back to another Doing Fools podcast. We have the famous Nybar with us again. What's up, Nybar? How you doing?
I'm not sure about famous, but I appreciate that.
Oh, you're famous. You're famous. Yeah, every time I say Nybar, CDH players just start shaking.
Thanks.
Ooh. Now, today we're talking about black and then mono black. This is the second episode of the third episode of my series that I'm doing colors in CEDH. So I'm really excited. Black is one of my favorite colors in CEDH. Probably my favorite. Not sure. My baby Tevish is mono black. He's a partner. So so let's get into it, man. Why do you like black so much?
Oh man. Black is like my crutch color. You know how some people or blues their crutch, they don't play without counter spells and Rhystic Study, and pre-ban people would play without red. Post-ban I think probably switched off red a little bit. But black is my my crutch color. I don't think many people have seen me on a deck that doesn't have the color black in it for the most part,
Yeah, I'm probably the same. I think tournaments too. I'm kind of like that. I need to mirror in tournaments for me.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really hard for me to not play blue or black in a tournament. But I have all type of fringe decks just playing like on spell table or whatever. But no, I agree. Just for me, just to have the tutors.
Exactly.
So we're not gonna. We'll talk about the best black cards later. Just tutors in general. You can't beat a demonic tutor.
It's the most
right? A vamp tutor.
Of all the tutors in any color. You get any card that you want.
Just the three best ones, right? Demonic Tutor, Vamp Tutor, Imperial Seal. It's just like, it's so good. How many non-black decks, let's just say low color Izzet decks or Selesnya decks or mono decks that aren't in black and they have a hard time tutoring for the wins. Like Niv Mizzet was a famous one. It was playing every tutor to get Jewel Lotus or Dockside it could. But, like, they're really bad, right?
And if you're playing any tutors in any other color, they force you to reveal what you're getting because it's always something specific, right? It's artifact, enchantment, creature.
Yeah.
And so when you tutor, people are like, oh, we know what you're going to get if you're playing any of those tutors. But with black, you get an advantage of withholding that information.
Besides, like, Enlightened Tutor, I want to say, like, every other tutor is bad. You have like Imperial Recruiter and Spell Seeker, and you have Mystical Tutor. It's like, okay, thank you for telling us what you're doing, unless you're winning right there, or you have to draw it.
I wouldn't say every tutor is bad. I mean, tutoring is just the core of CDH, right? You're getting comparing
to black.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like look at Vamp Tutor to Enlightened Tutor. Yeah, Enlightened Tutor goes in every white deck, but you want to talk about the difference, right? Like. Yeah. Personally, so kind of answered why black, but black and CDH, do you think that's the best color, if not the top two best colors for you as a Magic player?
I would say, because I think of the colors and I think blue and, I think blue is like a mainstay color, right? And then kind of people build around that. I think black is probably the best support color for a deck because of the advantages it lends to each of the different colors because it provides flexibility to that deck.
I don't know about I mean, we can agree to disagree. I don't know about support would be the name, because I think blue is the best support, because one of the last podcasts I did, you kind of look at the core. We'll go over the cards later, but kind of spoil some of these, like Orcish and Dark Ritual and Necropotence. For me, those are more combos, and the card quality is so high on those. Because you look at blue, right? Blue is support, interaction, card draw. That's support. Besides Thassa's Oracle by itself, right? Without black, I feel like that's the best support color. I feel like with black, like you said it a minute ago, I think it's the best crutch. I think it's the best, hey, I have 5 mana. I'm gonna, besides like Gamble in a Breach deck, right? Like Adnaz. Like I feel like black is a good, I just win here. Like, I have a tutor, I win the game here. Right? I think it's the best combo card, but I kind of get what you're saying with support. Like blue black's really good, right? Black green, it can do its thing, right? Like just because it has that power of black compared to like say blue white. I think blue white's good. It's fine. White's definitely gotten a lot better, but it doesn't touch blue-black, right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
It's just historically, right, in
Historically, maybe
CDH,
times are
right?
changing. Blue-white seems to be doing pretty good in the metagame right now. With I've been hearing some rumors of a certain starfish that's making waves right now.
Yeah, that's like one
Yeah.
deck, but that's because the commander's good. I just mean generally, you put up blue-black cards and blue-white cards. It's like, okay, I'll sacrifice the silence effects for
Yep.
tutors,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Toxic Deluge, the Rituals, Tainted Pact, the Thoracle combos. We'll get into Thoracle console, Tainted Pact later, but I just feel like I think black is definitely the best color when it comes to a crutch. Bringing to tournaments. I feel like when you go from tournament CDH to like on spell table and play with your friends, I think you can bring anything that you want to that. Right? I can be like, hey, I love this 5-color Ur-Dragon deck that I put all the CDH staples in. I love playing it. It's good. You could probably get a game or two, right? But I think going to tournaments, if you're not packing black in there, there's got to, like before, you need a good reason not to play red and play blue. I feel like black is, just like you said, just like the blue. If I'm not Dimir, my commander better be busted, like a Magda, right? Or like even the 5-color guys. The 5-color decks, really, they don't have a lot of green in them. They don't have a lot of, like blue in them, really. They have the white stuff. I feel like black, every 5-color deck has a Dark Ritual, has the tutors, has a Oppo, has a Orcish, because you need those pieces by themselves. Like Timna Thrasios. Why is Timna Thrasios good? We were talking about it earlier. Timna is mainly, like Blue Farm, Timna was a plan, right? Had all the good cards, Timna was the plan. Timna Thrasios, it's how do I get my combos to infinite with Thrasios, or I just Thoracle, right? So Timna's really just for the colors. And I feel like if it white something else, was it white? Sans red. White red, it wouldn't be talked about. It's white black. I feel like that puts Timna just probably the best commander we've ever seen, just because of the colors, right?
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head. Whenever I go to tournaments, I do not feel comfortable taking anything that does not have black in it. That's for me personally.
Yeah. No, and I agree with you. I'm the same with blue as well. Like, for me as a player, I don't think my skills are there yet. No, I'm with you. I just feel like for me, if say I bring like you're really good at Timna Kadama, Tevish Kadama, you're really good at the deck decks like that. For me with blue, I feel irresponsible, right? Like, I hate going to a tournament. Like at the Boyle, I was on Timna Malcolm, a very interactive deck. And I'm looking at my other two opponents with this non-blue deck, and they were going off, right? Feeding me cards and stuff, like Rock Size or whatever. And I'm looking at them like, guys, Mag, do you have anything? Like, do you? And they're just like, nope, we don't have interaction on our deck. We're non-blue. So for me, I feel irresponsible. But someone like you, I feel like you're probably a better player than me. And in the way you build decks, like your Kadama decks, like I feel like they're very, very, very interactive. Or like your Temna decks, you have that white suite where you don't need to. You resolve a silence, you win. You don't need counter spells. Or you don't need that card draw because your commanders draw and your commanders are busted, right? But I definitely, like, gun to my head, I would rather bring black than blue to a tournament, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of where I'm getting at. I'm not... But, I mean, nowadays, CDH, it's the 3-4 color piles anyways. So if you're playing Sans Blue, like, it's fine. But it's like, just show me, right? Kick my ass first. Let me see it. But, like, and I kind of want to segue into... I'm doing a lot of yapping, but I'm going to get into you talking about it. But,
What you got?
Crick, I want to talk about Mono Black, and I was looking at Mono Black, and I was like, Crick, Turgrid, Shieldred, there's not really a lot of Mono Black, and going through this, all the colors, Mono really isn't that good besides Mono Red, and I wanted to talk about Crick a little bit. Crick's insane to me, but I think why he's so good is because the mana, right, and one tutor Crick wins, and that deck plays every single tutor, right? So that kind of, I feel like I'm going to segue talking to you about it. This is why you play black, is really the tutors. So you could take a deck like Crick and make it good. So that's why I want to ask you, is tutors probably not archetype, but like best thing to do in CEDH. Maybe
Yeah.
card draw could be a little
I mean,
better.
so
But like how, like if you could take black tutors compared to any other thing ever in CEDH, it's probably the best thing,
yeah,
right?
I mean, it's just that's what gives the format its consistency, right? The ability to keep winning on turn 2, turn 3. We have a 100 card deck. We're not in those first, that first hand or the mulligans you do, and you go down to 5. You're like, hey, at least I got a tutor, right? And then I can get the game plan going to try and win by turns 2, 3, or 4, right? That's just how every deck has its tutors, right? Some are not as good as the black ones. So the black ones just get whatever you need at the moment that you need it.
Yeah, like vampiric tutor versus mystical tutor. Mystical tutor limits you on a couple things. Okay, counter spells or like an ad nause or like a demonic tutor or like a good sorcery, right? I can't tell you when I first did Gemstone Caverns going second, Vampiric Tutor before my first turn, how strong, how unbeatable I felt.
That's good.
It was just like a turn 0 tutor, and now I have at least 2 mana with any card in my deck. Normally it's like a Ristic Study or something, but still, like, that is so strong. And then Demonic Tutor. I'll put Demonic, if we're doing a ranking list of CDH cards, which I might do in the future, Demonic Tutor's gotta be top 3 cards.
Essentially, yeah.
Just by itself.
Yeah. I mean, the cards are so powerful. Really the only limit is the pilot's decision making, essentially. That's how strong those cards are. Because you can pick the wrong card,
I've always
right?
said. Yeah, right. But I can tell you how many times, that's just my experience, how many times I don't know what I'm going to tutor for when I tutor. I was like, okay, I have this Vampiric Tutor, what am I going to get? I don't know.
Oyster.
And then I see my deck, and then I find the card, and I'm like, oh, I just win here. Or, oh, I could get this. I didn't know I could get this. You know? That's a funny story I said in a podcast before, but I wanted to tell you about it. I think it was like 6 months ago, I was on Temna Sakashima, and it was like a smaller, like 30-person tournament. It was really fun, right? I actually won the tournament, but that's a whole nother thing. So there's a game where I had a mystical tutor, and I know the guy had interaction, and I was like, hey man, it was like Magda, Najila, like Rogsai, I think it was. And I was like, hey man, let this mystical tutor resolve. I'm going to get this Toxic Deluge in my deck. And I just built the deck like the day before. I was like, let me grab this Toxic Deluge because we're dead, right? We need to bar life. He's like, you know what? Cool, got it. I searched my deck for 5 minutes. I didn't put Toxic Deluge in the deck.
Man.
And I felt bad because he let it resolve because I told him what I'm getting, and I literally gave him my deck and we couldn't find it. And I was like, fuck, what do I get now? And it's just so funny because it's a mystical tutor, right? So then what happened was I was like, well, let me just grab this Tainted Pact for later. I don't think there is a later. So 3 turns later, I reveal a Thoracle somehow. I don't know if I drew it or I showed them. And they're like, didn't he tutor for Tainted Pact 3 turns ago? And I was like, that's his Oracle? I accidentally won because I really wanted to get Toxic Deluge at that point. But we ended up not winning. But that's just the difference of Vampiric Tutor. I don't have to say anything. Right? Mystical Tutor, I have to be like, hey, guy, I was talking to the guy who won the Boyle on a podcast. I don't know if you watched it. And he was talking about that too. He was like, or no, was it? No, I'm sorry. It was a Zika podcast. I talked to the 2 guys at Top 16 the Boyle. And he was like, he put a mystical tutor on the stack, and the guy had interaction. And he was like, okay, I know you have counter spells for his mystical tutor and the spell I get. So let's talk about it. Can I get this? They're like, no, I'm countering that. Can I get this? No, I'm countering that. Okay, what about Wheel of Fortune? You know what? All I have is interaction in my hands. You tutor for Wheel of Fortune. So he's like, okay, cool. So he mystical tutored Wheel of Fortune, and then won the game. He was like, Vampiric Tutor. Like,
yeah, that's a bit of a downside because you don't have to reveal the card, and so that becomes a much harder political tool at the table to try and have it go your way because you don't have to show the card.
You can reveal it if it's like that serious.
Yeah,
if you have a force of will, bro, I'll show you what I'm getting. I'm not getting the win, right? If you have to. So let's kind of talk about the strengths and weaknesses of black. We talked about the tutors. What do you think kind of the weaknesses are?
Well, there's several. Black as a standalone color basically has no stack interaction. So that's where it kind of loses out to things like blue and red, where they have the counter spells or the the deflecting swats and that sort of thing. Black has what? Imp's Mischief. It's a 2 mana like.
Change
Yeah,
target or
you
something.
lose life because of it. And you get to pay mana. It's not free. So yeah, on the stack interaction, it's really lacking there. And you don't have a
I
really
think
good way.
Oppo, Orcish.
Yeah. So, but
That's
that's
about it.
putting it on the board, right? Fighting
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the,
yeah. You
fighting in
mean
the air.
like
Yeah,
counterspell?
and that sort of thing. Fighting
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
air
yeah,
rather than on the ground, right? I kind of have like an image of the stack kind of like being up in the air above the battlefield.
yeah,
So that's where
yeah.
it kind of doesn't have a lot of strength there. It also doesn't really have in its own color, like it can play artifacts and stuff, but in its own color, it doesn't have a way to protect its own win attempts, like blue and white does.
Mm.
So
The only thing I can say about black, kind of counter arguing you against that, is it's probably the best removal
yeah,
color,
yeah,
like
I do
by
have that as
far,
one of its
right?
strengths. Yeah. So we're just going over the
Yeah, like
weaknesses right now, right? Like it doesn't have
oh,
it
okay,
does not
yeah,
have a
yeah.
great way to protect
I'll
its win
just
attempts.
it doesn't have it.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't have interaction
Mm-hmm.
as in like
Yeah.
counter spells, but what it does make up
Is
for
creature removal.
is
Yeah,
oh my
it's one of the
god,
best creature removal.
holy
I mean, it
yeah.
has. I have a list of some of the cards here.
I
Yeah,
know
it's got
Deadly
Deadly
Relic
Relic,
is one.
Dismember. I mean, 1 mana. That gets around
Yep.
indestructible.
That card's
You got
insane.
Slaughter Pact, Snuff
Yep.
Out, Toxic Deluge is a board wipe. It's. I mean, people say Toxic Deluge is one of the best board wipes out there for the
Yeah.
for the
We're gonna
cost,
talk about that
right?
card later.
And then something that came out. I think was it this summer? I think it was. Flare of Malice has been really hot too for a lot of people. Just another free gotcha card, like get rid of all of your biggest stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So really good creature removal package is what it's got for its strength.
Yeah. And I was talking to my buddy the other day. He's really big on
Mm-hmm.
Yuriko. I feel like okay, Yuriko's probably not a top 10 deck. I mean, it could be in this meta maybe, but it's definitely like one of the best casual decks ever, and it's probably top 15, 20 CDH deck. And he was saying, I feel like it's only busted. The deck is busted because it has black
Yeah.
blue. He was like, I think if you have any other two color combination, I don't think it's as busted. Because how many times you've been like, oh, okay, Yuriko Trigger, Vamp Tutor. He wins here. We're cooked. You know what I mean? So that kind of gives me the idea of
Yeah,
that.
the way that Yuriko works in that shell, being able to essentially like draw cards off of combat damage, right? And then having those top of the deck tutors, right? Mystical Tutor, fine, right? You get to find your spells and you have to reveal it. And the Vampire Tutor, I mean, people know you're going to be putting something important on top. It could be a bomb to take you out with damage, or it could be a combo piece to try and win the game. Really good in Yuriko. Yeah.
Right. Right, yeah, for sure. But continue with the interaction package. Besides creature, does it have any removal? I think it has Feed the Swarm, but that's not played in
starting
CDH.
to kind of creep into a little bit of green and white in that kind of removal package. It still doesn't deal with artifacts very well, but it has a couple of ways to get rid of enchantments. It's got Feed the Swarm, and then most recently, Withering Torment was printed for it. 3 mana, instant speed, remove creature or enchantment, and then you lose 2 or 3 life or something like that. So it's got a couple options for enchantments, which is something that the mono black as a color is weak to, like artifact, enchantment, permanence, because it can't get rid of those very easily. So I have it as another weakness. It's just weak to like the artifact, enchantment, stacks pieces, because it just doesn't have a way to get rid of those.
But again, like we can talk about it all day long, but normally like there's not a lot of mono black decks.
Yeah.
And then I feel like all the stuff that black is missing, like say a 2-color Dimir deck, blue picks up, right? So when you talk about black, you're talking about 3-4 color piles, and I feel like whatever it's missing, you have the blue, you have the white, you have the green, right? Yeah, so that's how I want to get into. Did you have any other strength and weaknesses? I wanted to get about your decks.
So weaknesses, I think I pretty much covered. Yeah, virtually has no stack interaction. Doesn't have a way in its own colors to protect win attempts, and then it's weak to. I want to say, like generally, if you're talking about the monocolor, I know we're probably mixing the color with other colors, right, to make up for those disadvantages. But in the color itself, just weak to artifact and enchantment permanents. Yeah.
Yeah, Rishik Studies. Yeah. And that's fine. Again, we're not playing mono black. Like if you're a dedicated Crick pilot, good for you, bro. I'm good. Like,
Yeah.
I'm bored.
As much as I love black as the color, I do not play mono black decks. I have made some casual ones in the past. I've done like a Villas and a Crick casually.
Yeah. Shieldred's
Shieldred's
really
pretty
fun to
fun too.
play.
Yeah. Um,
Like, casual Shieldred is a
yeah.
blast.
And I think I've done
Yeah.
braids, the new braids as well. It's fun.
Yeah,
It's got
yeah,
card advantage on
yeah.
it too, which I thought was really cool for black because it doesn't have like a ton of like what blue has. It has lots of draw, but like black has some of that, but not a whole lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that. What black decks do you play?
Yeah. Um,
Besides what I mentioned,
mhm.
Timna, right?
So yeah, black is my crutch color. I don't really play monocolor decks, but I've this past year I've kind of limited myself as like a strategy to get better as a player. So I've been playing two color decks, um, and it started with piloting Gyruda. You and I Gyruda pilots, and that's like the first deck. I
Die,
love that
baby.
deck so much. But
Oh.
that's the deck that I finally got to see some tournament results with after playing with it for almost a year. And then
Mm-hmm.
after that, I was like, cool, I'm gonna move on to something else. And then I found Rakdos the Muscle, so I played red black. Did that, and I found a lot of success with that deck. Made a couple of top 16s and top 4s with Rakdos the Muscle. Um,
Mm. That
and
deck's insane.
then the bans hit. I was gonna keep playing Rakdos until the bans hit because I was having so much fun with that deck, and Dockside was just insane with it.
It's still not
It's
bad.
still not bad, and people are still putting up
I,
results with it.
I've been cooked by it. Yeah.
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 In fact, wasn't in the boil there was a Rakdos the Muscle, or was that something else?
Oh, it
Yeah,
cooked.
like it was like a
Yeah,
six
no,
place or
it
something.
cooked a lot of people. Yeah, it was. I think going into top 16, it was second or
That's
third.
crazy.
It
Yeah,
cooked
that surprised
everybody,
me.
and then Tim
But
Thrasios
post
just
ban Rakdos
outvalued
the
it in the
Muscle
top.
doing that kind of work really surprised me.
Well, it's the one pilot, like the main dude. But no, I've been on the TTB server. I played against that Rakdos guy a couple times, and
Nice.
he's cooked
Okay.
us. Like the deck's still viable
Yeah.
for sure, but it's definitely a tier lower.
Yeah, a good
100%.
pilot can get it somewhere. But yeah, after
Mm-hmm.
the bans, post ban, I switched over to I made a prediction. It's like, okay, I can do Orzhov, or I can do Golgari. I think Golgari is going to be better going into post ban. I think we're missing Dockside, we're missing Mana Crypt, Jewel Lotus, we're missing mana. So green has some mana options that I wanted to try out and push. And so I was like, what am I doing? I'm gonna do Tevesh Kodama because I was missing a little bit of Kodama in my life. It's something that my brother has. There's Tevesh, buddy, the great Tevesh. Nice. My brother who got me into CDH, he's Timna Kodama player. Dante MTG for those who know him. And so I wanted to get back to some Kodama stuff. I played his deck before and I really liked it. And so I did some Golgari, Tevesh Kodama, and did a top 16, top 4 with that in my local area, so that was nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then most recently, I've I've opted into a third color, and I've been doing some abs in with Timna Kodama, and did a top 16 down in Waco just this past week.
Yes, it's on EDH top
Mhm.
16. I saw it. I think you got 8th.
Yeah, I got 8th place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a good time. I think about 80, 81 players or something like that. So a good sizable tournament run too.
Yeah. Okay. I'll do a side note a little bit. How's Abzan feel?
Absent, yeah,
in
Absent
tournaments?
is my favorite 3-color combination. I like it. I think with those colors, I have the protection of white, I have the mana with green, and then I have the flexibility of black that kind of fits my play style. I try not to do, my least favorite colors are probably red and blue. And I like Garuda, and I do enjoy getting the chance to play with counter spells and Aristic Study and Mystic. But it's just not really how I like to play. And so I do have a very different kind of Dimir deck that kind of reflects that.
Right. Yeah. Gyruda isn't a Dimir deck.
It's really a creature.
Gyruda's
creature
Gyruda.
combo deck in Dimir, which is cool.
I tell people all the time with that deck, dude, I win with Gyruda's shenanigans way more than I win with Oracle. Like, when you win with Oracle, it's Devotion 30, and that's a blast.
The win is still, it still ends up being Thoracle, but like Thoracle ETB, and it's like, oh yeah, I have 20 cards in my library, but I have 30 or 40 worth of devotion on the board. Like, okay.
Yeah. People, oh, he could just untap and win. He's in Dimir. It's not that easy. I'm in Gyruda. I played 30 clones. Trust me.
Yeah, so that's my that's kind of my repertoire at the moment. Those are the 4 decks that I have that have gotten me tournament results, and I feel pretty solid on all of them, except for post-ban Rakdos. I do need to hop on that train again and see what I can do with it to get some results with it post-ban.
Yeah. I feel like with that deck, I did one of those Money Mondays, and that deck won because we didn't know what the deck was capable of. So I feel like it's one of those decks, the more it gets popular, maybe the worse it gets. Because once you figure out, you can... But right now, I still think it's a good spot. I think you can cook people 100%. Because, like, okay, I have interaction. Oh, that's fine. I can just keep going and keep going and keep going.
It can
keep
going through interaction, which is kind of crazy.
Right. Right, but if we know, we can be like, oh, okay, I'm not letting you resolve this thing, or like the set, like I think he had a Phyrexian altar, or the other one that you get colorless, and whenever that guy dies, it comes back.
Yeah.
So we had interaction, right? We had interaction, but we didn't know that's where to interact. So 10 minutes later, it's too late. He's like, interact all you want. I'm here. Yep, right? Like he got rid of his Rakdos, got rid of this, countered this, and he was still a going, and it was like
it churns like crazy. But yeah, it just has. I think with I mean, it's commander focused, and once you realize it's commander focused, that's kind of the weakness of the deck. Also, just drain. It's Magistrate.
Well, I feel like any commander over 5 mana is insanely hard to pull off, and if you want to play commander Citric 5 mana or more, like. I feel like Omnixilis is like the perfect 4 mana commander. Like it's all about Omnixilis, but it's 4 mana and it's fine. 5 or more mana, like the Tivits, Atraxes, the
you need a kind of different game plan for those higher cost mana. You need to have an early game plan without your commander.
Correct, and that's a lot harder to do because how many games like the Thrasios decks and the Kennen decks win because it's like, okay, remove my commander, 4 mana. Okay, Rograk, okay, he comes back. Like it's so easy to get the Fierce Guardianships online earlier. For me, like the deck's easier to pilot, but when you play something big, like okay, I'm playing Gyruda, I'm gonna play the lawn game here. Okay, you got to make sure that you can do that, right? So I did want to, for another second, I want to talk about Kadama and Tevesh, right? When people, Tevesh Krom was my main deck before ban, people were like, oh my god, 10 mana in the command zone. Never came up. Never was an issue. Post-ban, maybe. So with Tevesh Kadama, did you go to Timnit Kadama because Abzan is just better and because it's like you have more like card draw?
I'm always brewing. And so I was like, I could either go, continue my challenge to myself and go into Orzhov, which at the time I was like, I don't really know if I want to go into Orzhov just quite yet.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Orzhov's rough.
I had, at the end of November and then the first week of December, I had 2 tournaments with some pretty substantial prizing on the line, some Gaia's Cradles that I wanted to get. Spoiler, I didn't get them, but, I tried. And I did fairly well in both events. And so I wanted to up, giving it another color, gives me a better shot, I think. I can play the 2 color decks pretty well, but I wanted to give myself just a little bit more. I think Timna is just a solid commander, and again, I've played my brother's deck before. I made changes to it to kind of fit my play style. Yeah.
Right. And I kind of feel like you're like me in a way. Well, I think you're a better CDH player than me, but in general, right? I don't play meta decks really in tournaments. Like I almost brought Rogsai. And for me though, I know, say 4 months ago, I know deep down, if I grinded Blue Farm, because I have the knowledge and this is what I do, right? I have a CDH podcast. I'm fairly confident in my ability. If I took that deck as much as I could and tournament grinded, I think I would do fairly well, right? But for me, I'm just like you I wouldn't have any fun and I wouldn't enjoy that. Granted, we all love enjoying winning, but for me, I enjoy playing Magic, and I feel like if you're going to play in a tournament for 12 hours, you're going to play something that you enjoy playing, because you're on that 12th hour, you're on Blue Farm, but that top 16, you could just punt because you're just bored out of your mind. I played a game last night. I was playing Tevis Thrasios last night. I haven't played online in probably a month since the boil, and I love Tevis Thrasios. That's like my first CDH deck, but I was bored out of my mind because I had a bad mulligan, and people were doing stuff, and I wasn't doing anything, and the deck's not that interactive, and I was just like, I want to play something that I enjoy, not just playing because that's your baby, right? I want to play it because I enjoy it and I like being interactive, and that's my play style. So I feel like me and you are kind of the same. Like, if you played Timna Thrasios, you would probably win a tournament. Like, if you're getting a top 8 with, no offense to the Abzan, right? Imagine if you were like top 3 deck. I think you'd be insane. But on the other corner is, I feel like you could probably win a tournament because you're dedicated to this deck and because you enjoy playing the archetype.
It's really about enjoying what you're playing, and of course, winning is important. I mean, that's why we're doing this. So I'm not out there trying to play like unplayable decks in these tournaments. I'm playing something because I do believe in it. It does have the capability and it does have strengths, and I'm able to utilize those strengths as a player, as a pilot.
But you are winning, yeah, and you're the underdog. Like 5-color, right? Like I'm on a Zika right now. It's one of my decks, and I'm asking the guys. I have an Azika pod coming out, and I'm asking them. I'm like, hey, why not Najila? Why not Kinrith? Why not 5-color X? And they're like, well, first thing, Azika's underrated and she's cracked. Second thing is you can say, hey, I'm not playing Najila. I'm not playing Cedh. So you kind of get the underdog. So I feel like with you and Abzan, you can do that. Hey guys, I'm playing this Fringe deck. It's not even that good. Worry about that guy. And then, oh shit, he's got a Protein Hulk in his graveyard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's definitely some moments in tournaments where I do take advantage of that. I'm like, hey, like I'm on Golgari. Like blue farm's after me. Like, do you want to use your interaction on me, or do you want to use it on blue farm? They can win more easily, right? So there's stuff that you can do with that, right?
And that's an upside. Post-ban for sure. I feel like before post-ban, Abzan was a little rough because it was like, you're not in the best colors, right?
Yeah, pre-ban.
Yeah, that's what I meant. You're not in red, blue before ban. Now it's like, okay, you have a good reason why you're not on blue. A, because of what you just said, and B, like how your commanders interact and all the other stuff. You don't need blue in a sense. That deck I played against fucking Timna Ganama. That deck is so interactive.
Yeah, it's surprisingly
that deck's crazy, and don't let them pop off either.
Interactive for the color that it's in.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. So before I'm going to do a top 10 list of the best black cards in my opinion, and I'm going to have Nybar kind of rate them and talk about them. Before we do that, was there any other thing with black you want to talk about? Which I learned black's the most flexible color.
It's a really flexible color. I mean, I have some notes here, but I'm down to go over your top 10 list and see. I mean, I didn't make a top 10 list, but I do have a lot of cards listed just in case we went over some stuff. Was one thing that I do think that I did not mention. Did we talk about strengths of black yet?
Yeah, the tutors.
So there's the tutors. I was thinking just a couple of thematic strengths to that specific color. I think, in my personal opinion, it's probably the best turbo support and also best graveyard support color.
Yep. I was going to talk about that in my top 10, but 100%. I think it's not even close to the best. Reanimate?
Yeah.
Like,
definitely.
Well, Breach, besides
Breach
Breach,
good,
right?
So when you talk about like red black, like there's Breach and then you have Reanimate, like both of those together, awesome. Entomb, right? Great stuff. Black green, right? Black green is great graveyard stuff. Golgari is known for graveyard. Black blue has the meme betrayal.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. I love Reanimator decks.
Yeah.
That's like one of my favorite things ever. How come it's not as good nowadays in modern CEDH? Like, yeah, you have the decks, like your deck, right? You have that. But like, remember 4 or 5 years ago, before I really played Razakath, Reanimate was like one of the best strategies. Yeah. Entomb Reanimate Avilis is a thing, right? How come Reanimate packages aren't really that prevalent anymore?
If you're talking about like just simply like reanimating like the big fatties,
like Reanimate, Animate Dead, I'm gonna entomb this thing and to get this thing and the combos and the Hermidura combos. A lot of the graveyard stuff people are kind of going away from.
One thing I would argue is that Breach has kind of taken over as like the main graveyard strategy, right?
Yeah.
So,
It's probably the best
Yeah,
combo
it's
besides
it's a
Thoracle.
combo,
Yeah.
and it gets you whatever you want from your graveyard as long as you have the mana and the cards to exile, right? Super good. Definitely
Mm-hmm.
the best graveyard thing to be doing because it lets you to cast anything that you want from your graveyard. Um, why is Reanimator not a good strategy? I would argue that Reanimator is probably a very important strategy right now in CDH. It offers a super, like just a whole nother level of flexibility to playing. You're using your graveyard essentially as an extra hand.
Yeah.
And I think most decks are doing
Right.
that right now.
Yeah. Maybe not a good strategy, but maybe underplayed is what I should mean. Like, I love it. I think it's really good. Like, I love playing Gyruda, and right now I'm on
Yeah.
Glarb. People
Glarb
don't
is
understand how good.
doing numbers right now.
It's not like a top
No.
10 to me. But once you start doing the surveil stuff, and once you start like flashbacking stuff from your graveyard, and, oh, I'll just cast this Yawgmoth's Will. I have 40 cards in my graveyard. How the fuck did that happen? Right? You know, so I definitely feel like it's very underrated. But like every time I play you, I feel like every deck that you play is on fucking Protein Hulk, and you go, okay, Entomb, okay, that gets countered. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Oh, let's print fucking Shifting Woodland.
Gosh, Shifting Woodland's
Okay,
so good.
that card's
It's
fucking
so
broken.
good.
If you don't have Shifting Woodland in your green deck because you don't think you can get Delirium, you're fucking high. That card is fucking
It's so good.
busted.
That's why I'm doing the green stuff right now. It's just that the green got a lot of busted
Yeah.
cards this year alone, which is
Mhm.
great. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think Reanimator strategies are very prevalent right now. You're talking about like Tim the Thrasios, like it has the Hazel Brewmaster Devoted Druid combo. That's essentially
Survival of the Fittest is a good card now.
yeah.
Before it was unplayable. And now it's like, oh, okay, discard Devoted Druid, tutor for Hazel,
And
win the game
a
if this
one-card
resolves.
combo. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, 100%.
Super good.
Yeah.
And then like all the decks that are you talk about Glarb. I mean, does the graveyard stuff. Master of Keys, I think was kind of pretty hot when it first came out. Hasn't seen the numbers, but like again, another reanimator strategy. You do the animate dead on
Dude,
Advil,
that deck.
right? Super good.
Right. Talk about Master Keys for a second. I think that's a deck, and people are sleeping on
I
it.
think people just need some
This guy-
devoted pilots to it to kind of get it working.
Yeah. This guy casts a fucking Brain Freeze for like 45 on on the guy's instep, and I was like, that deck's on Brain Freeze, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, he wins here. He put his deck in his fucking graveyard. I didn't read the goddamn commander, and he cooked us.
It's a cool strategy.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I got you. So yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else. Yeah, I feel like they for some reason, keep printing broken black cards, and we'll get into it.
Yeah.
Like, spoiler alert, my number one rhymes with Lorkish Bowmaster.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later, but I don't know why, before I get into that, I did want to talk about this. Black as a color, just in Magic / casual, I feel like we don't really play a lot of 60 card, right? But like the Thoughtseize effects are fucking I don't play a lot of 60 card, my brothers do. Thoughtseize effects are like the best thing you can do in any 60 card. And then in casual alone, I feel like the black cards like the Lilianas, all the the black Planeswalkers, like like say I like doing this with this, talk about every color. Say we're gonna add a color, or we're just gonna Magic in general is like, you know what, we're not doing 5 colors anymore, let's cut a color. And I feel like no one on this planet that knows what they're doing would ever cut black. I feel like black is one of the most essential colors in Magic, just throughout the board. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. Every casual game I've played, it's like, oh, that guy plays a broken black combo, or that guy has this, right? You have Thorkel's a trash card, right? Demonic Consultation fucking sucks. Together, it's the most efficient combo in our game, right? Tainted Pack, I think, is a CDH staple, but we'll get into that later. So I just want people, if you're afraid to play black, or you've never really played black, and then you're getting a CDH, like once you resolve a Demonic Tutor or a Hazel or early Dark Ritual Necropotence, you're going to understand the strength. And I think, you probably quote me on this, I think black is probably top 2 color in CDH. and you have to fight me. I'll give blue maybe number one, but if you start going, okay, Ristic Study, Mr. Kimura, okay, what else? All right, my Demonic Tutor, my Vamp Tutor, those two can fight. Okay, now let's start going down the line. And then it's like, then you start to understand, which I'm about to get into the list. You're going to start to understand, oh, black's broken, and no one looks at it, right? No one goes, oh, look at this color, look at that color, this color. But then if you take any 4-color pile with black in it, all those cards are in the same deck. It was funny, one more thing I wanted to say. So I was making Rogsai Reel for the Boyle post-ban because I thought that was going to be the best deck, which I was wrong. Thank God I didn't take it. But I was comparing it to a deck. No, it was opposite. Okay, so I was blowing up Rogsai for Malcolm Timna.
That's what you brought.
Because Rogsai was trash. So what I did was, as I was like, okay, well, I want to make it real, obviously. So what I did on Moxfield, I compared my Rogsai list to my Malcolm Timna list to see how many real cards I have. It had 53 of the same cards. You're talking Esper Control to Rogsai, the fastest deck in the format, Grixis. So you had 53 cards that were the same, right? And then you look at it, I think 12 of those were black cards that go in almost every deck. You're calling the weeks, Bowl, Citadel, yada, yada, yada. And that's when I started to realize, oh, black's broken. Like, holy shit, right? Or it's like every deck, you're talking Grixis, I want all the rituals, I want all the tutors. Esper, oh, I want all the tutors, I want all of this, I want all of this. Every deck is doing that. And it's once you start seeing the list of these cards and you start to, I'm not gonna leave without this Orcish. I'm not leaving without this Oppo. Like, Toxic Deluge, the best board wipe in the game.
When you start talking about like just the number of staple cards in each color, I think black might have most colors beat, and just the sheer number of staple cards that you can include.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, the counter spells. That's kind of the only
that
right?
Blue and black might compete there, but like compared to like white, green, red, like
100%.
Black and blue got all those beat.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Yeah. We got Silence, Ranger, Captain, random white silence effect. Blue, you got Ristic, Mystic, Thoracle, counter spells. Green, you got the green tutors.
There are a lot of green tutors.
Right.
I say green's probably
and then red you have
Right,
third place. And then red, you have like two of the top 15 cards in red.
You got Breach,
so it's like,
and then I guess maybe Rog itself, and then Flare, Jessica's Will.
Gamble,
up there.
Gamble, Jessica's Will. But you're talking, one day I might do that. I might do an all, like, the top 15 cards in Commander that's not like Soul Ring or Command Tower, right? But 100% though, if you start to think about it, Orcish is top 5. Demonic Tutor's top 5. Dark Ritual's got to be top 10. That's 3 right there. 3 in the top 10. So we're already,
like Adnons and Necropotents, right?
Yeah, 100%. I'm just talking about generally, like, that's just those black cards going in every deck. Adnons, you have to find the deck. Necro, you have to find the deck. There's no black deck that's like, you know what? I don't want Dark Rid or Orcish.
It's really hard. Yeah.
Maybe Rogsai for Orcish. That's it, right? Like every black deck's like even 5 colors, like Nagila decks or Kindred decks. They're on Dark Ritual, right? Like it's just
cards.
It's a mana vault. Yeah, they're on Demonic Tutor. What black deck is not on Demonic Tutor, right? I don't care if you have no black pips like that. All right. So, anyways, black's good. We can both agree it's the most flexible and probably has the best cards in general. So let's go over. So my honorable mention was the Reanimator, like Reanimate, Anime Dead, Reanimator package. That was my honorable mention, which we talked about earlier. I really think it's underplayed. No one's playing it because everyone's playing Timna Thrasios and boring 4-color pile. But I think if you start to get 2-3 color decks and you start, like you said, the Glarbs and the Timna Kadamas, and you start to realize, oh, if I don't have an Agatha Soul Cauldron, we lose here, right? Like, I have this, and then I have a die trigger on the stack. Do I lose, or do you guys lose? And it's like, oh shit. So I feel like any type of Entomb effects, or even the Abdel stuff, like you were saying, the Master Keys is, hey, if I have an Abdel, or if I have a Animate Dead or Necromancy in my graveyard, I'm winning the game. It's like, or Food Chain gone. Okay, and I'm Animate Dead with my commander. Get a Thoracle, right? So we don't really talk about that. My number 9 is Deadly Rollick, and then all the good
Yep.
removal, which we talked about earlier. Isn't just Deadly Rollick, Dismember, Slaughter Pact, best removal? Maybe Swords is probably better, but besides that,
Yeah, I
right?
think Deadly Rock's probably the best out of the removal package. I think that deserves that spot for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it does have an asterisk. Your commander's got to be low.
Yeah.
But any like three mana and below, it's auto staple. But that's all the free stuff, right? Fierce Guard, Deflecting Swat, right? But Deadly Rollick's definitely
for as
there.
many free spells that blue has to like counter things on the stack, black has a good number. Definitely, probably not equal, but it has like 3 or 4 good free spells to deal with creatures on the board.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you're not on Adnos. If you're not on Adnos, Dismember is just, I think, one of the best cards ever printed.
It's really good.
Like, it goes around everything, 1 colorless mana. And even the power of Deadly Rollick, I feel like Rogsai was on Deadly Rollick. That's how busted Deadly Rollick is. A 4 mana spell that's probably irrelevant 90% of the time. It's free with my 0 mana commander. That's how strong it is.
And it exiles too. It's just another strength.
Oh. God. Number 8, I got Cabal Ritual. I feel like
putting that with like, are you separating Cabal Ritual and Dark Ritual? Am I seeing Dark Ritual higher up?
Yes. Yeah. Dark Ritual way higher. Yeah. Number 8 is just Cabal Ritual in general because A, it's mana. Like we could talk about the mana, and then the Reanimator stuff. Threshold is a lot easier, and then how many Grixis 3-color, 4-color decks are on Breach? Like, if you see a Cabal Ritual in a Breach deck, it's over. Like, all right, 2 mana for 5. That's fucking insane.
Yeah, that's a lot of mana for just 2 mana.
Yeah, like, are you on your decks?
I'm on Cabal Ritual in my Rakdos, and I believe I'm on it in Tevesh Kodama. Yeah, I think it makes sense in Rockside. It makes sense in the heavier black decks, and it makes sense on the 2-color decks. Now, the 4 and 5-color decks, you're not going to be seeing Cabal Ritual.
Right, yeah. I'm just talking about like either Breach decks or maybe the Adnos decks or like a Graveyard deck. It's probably not 8, but for me, every time I've cast a Cabal Ritual, it's over because I would be on Adnos or I would be on Necro. Just okay, turn 2 Cabal Ritual for a Necro. How much more are you in the lead?
It's a solid
you know what I mean?
surge of mana. I'd agree it's a good card. Does it make it number 8? I might contest you on this, but we can see where the rest of your list goes.
Yeah, no, I probably Reanimate as a card is probably better than Cabal Ritual. Just Reanimate Reanimate just isn't seen in a lot of decks anymore, to be honest with you. A lot of the 4-color, 3-color piles cut Reanimate, but in the right deck, like, and historically speaking, Reanimate's better. For sure. I'm just talking in my experience of CEDH, Cabal Ritual is either one of the best cards that you want to see besides Dark Ritual in a turbo deck, and then in a 3-color pile is just really insane. But again, this is just my thoughts and my list, and then if you want to rip me apart, you're the black guy. Like, you're more experienced on black and you're the better player. Number 7, I got Oppo.
That's a good card.
Man, that's what I was talking about with Orcish Oppo.
Yeah.
Holy
that's
shit.
a card when you are in a black deck, that's in there. That's a staple card. You see that across most decks that have black in it.
Dude, Opposition Agent is one of those cards I hate putting in my decks. But every time an Opposition Agent is against me and I'm like, any other stacks piece, I'm good. Right? Like, I remember we talked about it before. We're on Dead on Board. We did an all Tevesh pod, and I was cooking with Tevesh Thrasios, and, like, nobody could stop me. And fucking Nybar has to be like, you know what? I'm going to oppo your fetch land because I feel like you're going to run away with this game. And that cucked me so hard because I did all the math. I did everything. There's nothing. Even counterspells don't stop me. Like, I was, like, that far ahead. But that one crack of the fetch land, one oppo just changed my whole game because how I tapped and then I was fucked. And it was like, because normally I don't oppo on a fetch land.
Yeah.
Which that's a good control piece, but like that was the best. That's when I knew Nybar was a good player, when he fucking sniped that out. And Also, why he did it, he looked at my hand, and he was correct. He was like, oh, let me see his hand. And then we talked about it after the game. He's like, man, I'm glad I did the oppo because I saw that you were going for it. And now I knew because that next turn cycle, he went for it and he won because he knew I didn't have any interaction.
Yeah.
Because there's Tevish Rog and then Tevish Grom. They didn't have any interaction.
So there's that flexibility, right, that I was talking about earlier, where, yes, oppo is good as like a hate bear, right, like a gotcha moment, interaction. But it also has that you can choose who you want to target to see their hand and get more information that way. And that game, you were the player that was the most ahead, the most likely to win. And so I wanted to know what was going on with you.
100%. Yeah, and I had interaction, but it was like niche interaction, and you weren't sure. But the second you saw my hand, the second I passed turn, you're like, this is my window. Clear. He does. I think I had like a force of negation or something, and all your stuff was creature combos. And you didn't know. And you were like, well, I was thinking of not going for it because I didn't know, because I had like 11 cards in my hand. I don't remember what. I don't know how to Seaborn Muse out. I had like a One Ring. I had something out where I was drawing a bunch of cards. I think I had a 6 out that got like countered or whatever, but I just remember like that was the best play. And I couldn't tell you how many times like in Tim and Malcolm, I'll oppo a fetch land just to see the guy's hand. Hey, you're the threat. Let me see what's going on. Right? 100%. That card's fucking insane. Nuts. If you're not an oppo, you better be the fastest deck in the format. Because oppo, even Cedh plays oppo. Right? Even 5-color decks play it just because it's that good.
Yeah, you have to have a really good reason to not play it in the deck that has black in it.
Yep, 100%. Toxic Deluge, we talked about it earlier.
6.
Hell yeah. Yep, the best board wipe. Not even close. Get that damn out of here. Get that bullshit out my face. I don't even care if you're on Adnaz. 3 life, Toxic Deluge. This card, I wouldn't say, Orcus just probably blown me out more, but this card, I couldn't tell you how many times where like I'm taking this game over and Kinnan or any creature deck and then just a Toxic Deluge on 3, and you can't come back from it. A Kinnan deck does not come back from that unless he has a lot of artifacts. Yeah, like Najila decks, Cedh decks, they don't come back from a Toxic Deluge on 3, and that's how flexible the card is.
Yeah, right? Super flexible, right? I just want to note on that. So you, like Tivit plays it because you can do, oh hey, I have my Tivit on board, I want to kill it, I'm going to pay 4 or 5 life into it. Kill everything else, leave Tivit on board, right? Yeah. There's that flexibility and that choice that you can make with the card. It's going to be a board wipe, and then you can make it better for you and worse for your opponents on the spot. I'm
even on it on Malcolm Timna because if I'm not doing my thing, right, I want a board wipe. Also, Dr. Deluge on 1 is really good as well. How many tokens? How many Forbidden Orchards? How many Thralls? How many 1/1 Warriors? How many of that? Or, hey, I'm going to nuke my commanders, even though they're 2 or 3 toughness. But that guy, like the Rog Thrasios, is an insane
all
deck.
The dorks that are
That's
out
a
there,
creature deck,
mana,
right?
just like, nope, goodbye, dorks. There goes all your mana.
Yeah, so even on 1, or if you have to nuke your own board to stay alive, I feel like, dude, I'm glad you said it. That's probably going to be the name of this podcast. Black is definitely the most flexible. Or you just don't cast the Toxic Deluge, and it's fine. You have it as a backup.
I will say,
right?
Personal preference, there's only one deck that I do play it in, and that's going to be Gyruda, because it makes sense to play in Gyruda. I have my 6/6s, and they're not going to die to it very easily, so if there's something annoying on the board, I can play that Toxic Deluge. But, and then...
We're on Timna's and Tevish's.
Yeah, so my Timna Kodama and my Tevesh Kodama, those are creature decks, and normally I'm the one with the most creatures on board. I don't want to be doing the Toxic Deluge, right? So that's where it makes sense not to play it, and instead do 100%. Just the single target removal.
Yeah, 100%. But even like for me and like Tim and Malcolm, it's definitely like on the cusp of getting removed. Because like I play a lot of removal in that deck, but for me it's won me probably 2 games by itself because A, getting in, and B, hey, there's a Dranith out, and I haven't been able to do my whole deck, my whole game plan is get my commanders out. So it's just like, oh, you got an early Dranith, let me turn for this Toxic, reset the board, and then play my commanders. It's that flexible. So I would definitely look at it for Timna Kodama. But I understand though. Like I get it. Like a lot of times it's gonna hurt you more.
I just want to touch on that point you made where Yeah, like turn 4 or 5 when you have a bit more mana and you want to reset the board in your favor, it's only 3 mana, right? It's not Cyclonic Rift where you're having to spend 7 mana and then the next person gets to
Yeah.
rebuild before you. You get to start
Yeah.
rebuilding.
Or if it gets
Yeah, or
countered.
if it gets countered, you
Yeah.
still have mana left over to do
It's
stuff.
not the big deal.
Right, that's why it's so strong. It
Yeah.
only costs 3 mana and then some life, which is
Yeah.
a resource.
100%. 100%. And like even like Eureka decks are like really good now. And I feel like, you know, this is the saying from the beginning of Magic. No one plays enough removal.
Yeah.
This is removal.
It's good removal.
This is a flexible board wipe. This is, you know what? Or let's politic. I'll leave your commander. I'll leave your 5/5. That's fine, but I'm gonna wipe everything else. And you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of Kennen decks, you wipe 3 of their dorks, they're cooked, right? You do this to a Sisei deck, and they're just gonna stare at you like, damn, Toxic Dailies for 6 fucking hurt. You know what I mean? Flexibility. Let's talk about this card. Is probably one of the best cards post ban. Necropotence.
Yeah.
Maybe not post ban, but post like Modern Horizons 3, post Born Upon a Wind, Valley Flood Caller,
and then
Lord of the
Bloomburrow-
Rings.
Bloomburrow,
Yeah.
of course, like accelerated that even more. I'm surprised you have Necropotence down so low. I wasn't expecting this, but interested to see what you have 4 and above. But yeah, Necropotence, super strong card.
Well, it's at 5 for me only because it doesn't go in every black
That's
deck.
fair.
I don't play it. People are crazy. I don't play it in the Esper control decks. That's just wild to me. I don't play it in Malcolm Timna. I don't play it in any deck I'm not on Adnaz, right? Because for me, it's definitely a turbo card. But I understand where like Blue Farm plays it. Like Tim Fassi doesn't play it, right? But I understand where Blue Farm plays it because it's 3 mana. I have 4 mana left over. I'm definitely getting my Valley Flow card, Born Upon a Wind, and winning, right? My Final Fortunes. I get that. But for Necro, I don't think it goes in every deck 100%. And that's why it's at 5.
It's definitely a turbo or turbo slanted card for sure. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Well, name all your decks. None of your decks are on Necro.
Yeah,
None of your black decks,
Necro,
right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But that doesn't mean Necro's not busted, and it's not the best it's ever been. Right? Like, and just Roxai in general, when I played Roxai, that was the card I looked for. Fuck Adnaz, fuck Dockside, fuck any other card on the planet. Necro was the card. Because if I can go Darkrit Necro, Cabal Necro, turn 2 Necro, okay, I'll take 10. That's fine. Turn 1, turn 2 Necro, take 10, everyone I'm the threat, yada, yada, yada. That's the name of the game. No interaction? Okay, next turn I'm taking 25. I drew 35 cards. It's on my end step. There's no way I'm losing, right? Now Necro Dominance, I feel like, isn't as good as everyone thought it was. That card fucking sucks unless it's the late game. Unless you're at 35 life, you have mana left over, but Necro Dominance is not Necropotence. And also, I want to talk about Necropotence. I learned a couple rules about it. Like, I don't know. You probably know this. I'll shortcut it. But pretty much, like, say someone does a silence on a Necropotence.
The cleanup step.
So, Yep, I didn't know this till I played Roxai. I didn't know this for 3 years. So, okay, so what happens is you go to clean up, you discard a card, Necro triggers. Well, once the trigger's on the stack, you get out of that, you go back to your end step. So all end of turn effects are gone, like a silence. And I was like, oh my god, this card is fucking busted. And that's the difference of Necro Dominance doesn't have that.
It doesn't have those
but Necropotence does.
Yeah, it's a replacement effect on Necrodom. So effectively, it is just a much worse Necropotence, unfortunately.
Yeah. Also, why Necropotence is busted, and I didn't realize this until I played Roxai, it's a trigger. So if you're Born Upon a Wind, you can still do your Breach line because it's a trigger. Because LED is it's a mana ability, so you crack it for 3 whatever, and then you're responding to all those cards, say 30 cards from Necropotence, all those cards hitting the graveyard. You're responding to all those triggers, but they're in your graveyard now. And you have the mana. You're responding to all those, and then you just win on top of that. And you just hold priority with Born Upon a Wind.
How that works, whenever you go to discard, you discard them all at the same time, and then each trigger resolves individually. Okay, cool.
Correct.
I wasn't
Yep.
sure about that.
So what happened was on Born Upon a Wind, you're like, okay, crack it, 3 black. You can't respond there, right? That's a mana ability. 3 black, they all hit the graveyard. Okay, Necro's going to be like, boop, 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 boop. I have 30 triggers. Okay, I'm responding to all those triggers. Okay, I'm going to cast Gamble. I'm going to do this. Okay, I'm going to respond to LED hitting the graveyard. I'm going to cast LED again with Born Upon a Wind. It's like really fucking busted, and it's won me a few games. And that's why it's at number 5. It probably could be number 3, but again, it's like Adnaz. It doesn't go in every black deck. Like, we have 5 decks together that Necro's not in. But the one deck I do have, like, I have a Zika, Necro's one of the best cards in it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the top decks are just on Necro because it's so good. Yeah, but again.
It's like, why are you on that card? You know, Blue Farm's Control. It's like, yeah, but Necro turn 4, the Final Fortune in my hand, I win the game. Yeah, 100%. Number 4, this might be controversy. I don't care. Controversial. Tainted Pact.
No, that makes sense.
I feel like Tainted Pact, like, besides Thorical, right? Oh, yeah, I don't have Consult on this list because Consult's fucking trash.
Consult and Thorical belong together, right? But since this is mono black.
100%. But Tainted Pact, I feel like it's in every black deck, even if you're not on Thorical. Because how many times have you been like, oh, I have Painter's Grasp and Tainted Pact on my deck. That's a win con in the non-blue decks, right? Like, every non-blue deck almost has that combo. And then Tainted Pact in general, it's just, I think it's played even if you're not on blue. What do you think about Tainted Pact as number 4?
I agree with that opinion of yours, yeah.
Necro's probably better.
I would say, I'd say Necro's probably better, but I mean, Tainted Pact is essentially just a tutor, right? It's better than Demonic Consultation because you don't get any control. You have to know the card that you're getting before you search for it. Tainted Pact is like, oh hey, let's get around Oppo, let's get around Aven Mind Sensor, and let's tutor for a card, and be flexible about it. We can stop whenever we want to. Really good with Glarb, by the way, because you can just look at the top of the deck anytime, right? Good with Mystic Forge, Abolis, Tainted Pact. Like, before I cast what's on top, I want to look at it first.
That's one effect you can do while you're resolving a spell. Because, like, Adnaz, right? Adnaz, you could do that, too. But that's one effect. You may look at your library anytime. That's one effect you can do that other effects you can't do. It's got
really good synergies with certain cards. Yeah. And, just a really good... Again, gets around some of the stacked pieces as well. Like, where Demonic Tutor might be dead with an Oppo on board, Tainted Pact is not. Really solid card. Yeah.
How many times where I'm like, yeah, guys, we lose here. I do have interaction, but it's a consult. It's like 90% of the time I lose. Tainted Pact, you don't feel as bad. Where you're like, you know what, this does suck, but I don't know what I'm getting here. Oh, I got a Fierce card. Sweet. Right? I don't have to name a card. I don't have to hope and pray. Or like, you know what, guys, I exiled my Thor. Right. And hey, name of the game, flexibility. Right? Oh, I got a Silence instead of a Fierce Guardianship. This works. Right? Yeah, flexibility. Tainted Pact, now I'm looking at it, it's probably 5 or 6, but just, I think that card is a CDH staple all day long. 100%. Even if you're not in blue, you play Tainted Pact. Number 3, I got Dark Ritual.
Oh, yeah, makes sense. One of the best turbo cards.
Talked about it before. 5 color decks are on Dark Ritual. It is, besides mana rocks, it's one of the most efficient things. Right? It's 1 for 3 all day long. If your even if your commander's 5 mana, and it's like, okay, I gotta, like, Omnixilus, the reason why it's still played, because instead of the Dockside, or instead of all the Jewel Lotuses that has Dark Ritual, you can still get a turn 2 4 mana commander, right?
Yeah, just one of the most broken cards out there. You pay 1 mana and you get 3 back.
Yeah, I think it's one. I don't know, is it Alpha and Beta? I want to say is that old. It's just one of those cards like Demonic Tutor.
I don't know the specifics on that because I've only been playing for a few years. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, me too. But it's definitely an older card, like in the 90s, and it's one. It's like Demonic Tutor. Oh, hold on. Oh, okay, I was confused. I was looking at my old list. That was my first list I made, and then right before the pod, I did another list. That's because I have Demonic Tutors number 2, but then I realized I wasn't doing tutors on this list. So that's the funny part. Yeah, I redid the list. So pretty much, Reanimate Package was honorable mention. Demonic Consult was 10. 8-9 was blank at the moment, but you could do whatever. And then Toxic Deluge, Oppo, Necro, Tainted Pact, Dark Rit, and then my number 2 changed because I'm not doing tutors. My number 2 is Adnaz. Yeah. I feel like Adnaz, besides like a turbo deck, because Necro is just insane, I feel like Adnaz is probably the most flexible card in black. Like, even I've played Adnaz and Tivits and Atraxa in decks that aren't Adnaz decks, and its instant speed 5 mana draw 10 is still good in any figment of the imagination. I've seen it in Italian. Adnaz is so fucking insane, and Adnaz is one of the one card combos where it's like, okay, like Thrasvile or any deck that is looking for one card to win the game to tutor for, and they have the mana. Adnaz is the card you tutor for in an Adnaz deck, and it's just that powerful. It's the number one card for me. If this card resolves, I win the game. Besides, like a Thoracle, right? If y'all let my in-step instant speed Adnaz resolve almost in any deck, I'm winning the game. There's nothing you could do about it, and that's why I have it as number 2. What do you think about it?
Definitely not as high on Adnaz. I was expecting a little bit lower on your list, especially post-ban. Because
okay. I respect that.
Yeah, it just isn't doing the same. Like, it pretty much has to be in step for it to be, like, really good these days. Like, you can't main phase it and expect to be as, lucky as it was before when you could also hit Mana Crypt the Dockside. So I think
well, Turbo's kind of... There's, like, no Turbo decks now besides Rog.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Right. I think Turbo is being led by Rogsai, and we're gonna struggle a little bit until we find a couple of new decks that are turbo slanted that are doing well also. They may not have black in it. We'll see. We don't know what the futures hold right now for this post-ban.
Yeah. Right. And I'm kind of talking as Adnaz as a card, though. Not as, this is what the format looks like. There's not really any turbo decks. Just generally and historically in CEDH, this is like the boogeyman of a card. Right? You see Adnaz on the stack, everyone's like, oh, shit. Right? And if a card can do that to a format, that's why I have it so fucking high. Dark Rip probably could be number 2 over this, right, in the tutors, obviously. But for me, in my experience, that is a card where I'm like, guys, we're dead. You got anything? We're dead? You got anything? We're dead? I don't have anything. Do you have anything? We're dead? Okay, he wins the game here. You don't even have to show me. Like, fuck, hopefully we get lucky, right?
Okay. Yeah, I understand your points. I think... Personally, these days, definitely Necro is probably better than Adnaz.
Yeah. I agree. Because it's hard to main fade Adnaz. I get it.
But I agree with your points, though. I think, obviously, still a good card. The notoriety behind it, for sure, like, throughout the history of CEH, right? Adnaz deserves a top spot.
And I
just have a hard time separating, like, if we're going to make a current list of cards, talking about the current meta is also important for doing that list.
Yeah. No, you're right. 100%. Like, this is just a list I threw together because I wanted, like, these are probably the top 10 most impactful cards I wanted to talk about. So you can, hey, me as a black player, me as a good CDH player, this is what I think. Like, I don't think that Adnaz is out of any top 10 black lists that don't have tutors in it, just because the impact of Adnaz. Remember Peer into the Abyss a year ago? That was almost in every black deck, right? And then Deflecting Swat and Flare Duplication shit on that card.
Basically, overnight, what was it, Punt City 2?
Yep. What's his name won? Bosch and Roll 1 because of Deflecting Swat on a Peer.
It was Connor on Jund. I don't remember. It was like
I don't remember.
Maybe? It was
a
Jund deck. And they peered, and then it got Deflecting Swat, and like that, Peer was just like cut. I didn't hardly ever see that ever again.
And then Flare Duplication? Flare Duplication,
just
Go ahead, cash your...
Deflecting, change the target spell, right? So, Peer's like extra dead. It's too risky.
100%. It's too much mana.
So,
if it was a 7 mana, I draw half my deck, I'm cool. With a target, it's like, if I'm spending 7 mana to get blown out so easily, like, I'm good. Right? Like, with Adnaz, it's worse than countering Adnaz, somebody commandeering an Adnaz. And you're like, fuck.
But people aren't playing around Commandeer because it's not as widely played, right?
Right. Or Flare Education. Or,
Deflecting Swat and Flare are more
right.
widely played. And because of that, Peer just doesn't seem to play it. If it didn't have the target clause on it, it'd probably see more play because of, like, hoarding Broodlord lines, right? Because that just gets it and casts it with Saw and a half.
100%, for sure.
But instead, there's the risk of
agree.
you getting blown out and then also just giving the game to that player.
Yeah. And that's just, the I win buttons, right? Hey, 7 mana, I win if the spell resolves. Right? But again, it's sorcery, one of the easiest spells to counter with anything besides like instant, right? But I agree, like spell pierce, miscast, you name it. It's like, oh fuck, I'm out, right?
Pretty much. So that was number.
I agree. So number one, good.
Sorry, I was gonna say number 2 is Adnons. Let's see what number 1 is.
Oh yeah, it's Orcish.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
I think pre-ban Orcish and Rhystic Study were number 1 and number 2, and then post-ban I think Rhystic Study and Orcish are number 1 and number 2. Orcish Bowmaster by himself takes over games, and if you're not in black, I would be terrified. Right? Like green got a lot better. A lot of people stopped playing archetypes because of this card. A lot of people stopped playing the green mana dorks because of this card. Now they kind of went back on that because a lot of the green decks are on black. Right? Okay, I have my own Bowmaster. Okay, cool. I'm going to copy your Bowmaster. Now I have a Bowmaster. This card single-handedly takes over games. I couldn't tell you how many games we try to remove it and they counter it, or that got removed. I'm going to get it back, and then I'm going to do this, and then now I have a 2020 army, and then I hit you with it, and then I wheel, and then I do this. This card by itself has been, like, I think besides Opposition Agent, because remember, I don't know if you remember when Opposition Agent that became a thing. People were like, oh my god, this is the most broken thing ever. Why are you playing this card? Orcish Bowmaster put his dick on the table to Oppo.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like this, it made wheels better, it made green worse, it made like, remember before Orcish, all the crazy green decks like Rocco, and the Selesnya decks, and the Stax decks, and Oppo. Yeah, and then Oppo's just like, oh, no, I don't care about any of your Stax pieces, your Winota. Orcish Bowmaster single-handedly destroyed Winota.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right?
So, like, deck, they were struggling for a long time. Not only because it was creature-based, but it was creature mid-range, where people were drawing cards, and then Bowmaster would just paint everything down. You lose your creatures.
And I feel like, it's one of those cards like Rhystic Study where say you're the green deck, right? You're getting punished because I'm casting spells and letting Rhystic Study draw cards. And you're getting punished because I'm casting spells, letting him draw cards, and your creatures are getting sniped. Right? That's just, for me, it's not. I love powerful cards as much as the next guy. Orcish, besides Rhystic Study, is the most bannable card, and it still will be, just because A, it makes for bad play patterns, and B, like, I understand like Dranis and Oppos, it doesn't feel good, and it's good to have a card like that, but when it changes the whole game, it almost made green unplayable before the ban.
I would argue this.
Right.
I do agree with your sentiment. This is definitely just, the wording could have been so much better for it, where it does actually punish the player that's drawing the cards.
Anything. If it would have been like, when a player draws a card, deal damage to them, or when they when they do this, or make it 2 black pips. Anything would have made it not so easy to just not throw it in your black deck. No decks need to play this card. They're not on wheels, they're not on this, they're not a creature deck, but hey, Orcish is in the meta, so I'm going to play an Orcish. That's the only reason why I play that card in a lot of these decks, and that's just bad to me. That's so bad for the format, and I fucking hate this stupid card. But I understand it's powerful. I love casting in Roxai. I love casting Wheel Orcish. That was a win con.
Yep. I think.
Okay, I'm gonna deal 21 damage, get a 21/21 orc, and now I still have a Bowmaster with another wheel. Like, how are you losing?
Yeah. The fact that it can target anything, that flexibility is just inherently so powerful and makes it so busted, because you get to decide where those beans go.
Or, like, it could hit you. Not even just your creatures. It could hit a Planeswalker. Yep. It could hit your face, right? Like, that's just inherently, I feel like it was a mistake. But it's fine. Like, it's been over a year since Lord of the Rings. We're okay. I just think Orcish Bowmaster, besides Rhystic Study, you're going to have to fight with me on what card is better in this format.
I think.
Besides, like, Soul Ring, right? Like, Orcish is just so fucking busted for no reason, and it warps the game just like Rhystic Study, like no other. You can't play around it. Every single deck, like the better decks, the Tymna is probably the best commander. All those decks, Thrasios decks, they all draw cards, and that's the game plan. Right?
Pretty much.
It's just like, Ugh, I hate that
Yeah.
card.
But I think people are. I mean, it's obviously still a great card. I think I probably agree with it being, this is a list without the tutors, right? Because if it had the tutors on it, the tutors would just take up slots 1 through 5 or something. But without the tutors, yeah, I
Right.
think Orcish does belong probably at the top of that list, just because how it warps the game around it, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Demonic Tutor, Orcish, Vamp Tutor, and then everybody else. Right, and then you start talking about Dark Ritual, and then Ad Nos, and then you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Like, I don't think it's better than Demonic Tutor, but it's just one of those, like, Moxville, how they have
Yeah.
packages, and if you're building a generic 5-color deck with no inherent synergy, maybe a Kenrith, and you go, oh, okay, give me all the best blue cards, give me all the best black cards, give me all the best red cards, you're gonna see 6 black cards on there, and you're gonna be like, oh shit, I have Orcish, Dark Ritual, Tanapak, Necro, Oppo, Toxic Deluge. Oh crap! You know what I mean? I have to cut one of these because I'm not in black, right? Oh. But do you have anything else before we wrap it up? I mean, do you agree with
Yeah.
Orcish? Do you have
Yeah.
any other things you'd add on this
No, I
list?
agree with it. I think, yeah, just to close it out, just a really, really great color, great support color. It lends itself to so many different strategies. Has the best tutors in the game. Um, the
Mm-hmm.
best color to pair with other colors for graveyard strategies. And again, I love playing graveyard strategies. I think that's probably why I gravitate towards that color so much. So
Mm-hmm. Well, you said earlier too, Demonic Betrayal, Abrupt Decay, all those cards that have
yeah,
black in them. Holy shit! Also, we didn't even talk about how flexible is Orcish.
super flexible.
It's the most flexible
Yeah,
card. It goes in every deck with any deck restriction. It has no downside, not even a
yeah.
little bit. You get another body for a
Yeah,
Tenda
yeah.
deck.
The fact that you get another body that grows with Timna is super insane. It's like one
Yeah,
of the best cards in my Timna Dama
dude.
deck.
When this card got printed, I was like, finally, Blue Farm won't be the best deck. Yes, it's going to shit on Blue Farm. That is the best card in Blue
Yeah, Blue Farm
Farm.
plays it.
What are you talking about? Yeah. Tin was like, thank you.
Um,
So, yeah,
I wanted to
good.
ask you, do you have like a favorite pet black card? Dismember.
Dismember.
Okay.
I even put it in Ad Nauseam decks. I put that card in every single deck I can find. 1 colorless mana anytime I want to remove probably anything in this
Yeah.
format, right? Besides like a Kennen creature, right? Like Dismember is probably the most underrated card to me. That's a removal thing. We could talk about that all day long. And I think people don't play removal. And then also I did want to add, I feel like Grim Tutor's underrated. If you're in a heavy deck where you're like 2-3 color black deck and you want a combo, like after playing, like Rockside taught me a lot of lessons and I learned Grim Tutor's
Grim Tutor's
busted.
good. Yeah, it's not a bad card by any means. It does.
No,
If
and
you're,
it's not ever seen play and it's
yeah, I
crazy
think the
to
problem
me.
is when you do start adding more colors, you're kind of pressed for those slots, right? And then you
Right. I don't think it goes in a
no.
4-color
And I
deck.
think even 3 color might be too hard.
No.
2 colors for sure. Yeah, you could probably slot in a Grim Tutor if
Yeah.
you're really
But
combo.
like in Esper deck, it's fine. Esper, Abzan, I feel like Grixis, it's fine. But again, it's not, no one plays it. Also, since we're talking about tutors, fucking Beseech the
Yeah,
Mirror.
no, I have
Oh
that list.
my
That's a good card.
God, is that a
That's a good card.
card? That is one of the most cards me and my brother argued about. He's like, because he's not really in CDH anymore when that got printed. He's like, man, get that shit out of here, bro. Get that. I'm like,
Yeah.
bro. He's like, it's a diabolic tutor. I'm like, no, it's not. It's a 4-mana demonic tutor that puts it on the stack. And then he won with it, and he was like, ah, you're right.
It's a good card.
I'm gonna crack this army token or this fucking mana vault or this soul ring that I already tapped and put a fucking whatever on the stack. That card's fucking busted. Why did they print that card is
Yeah.
beyond me. But that's one of my favorite black
We didn't
cards.
even talk about Wishclaw Talisman either, because that's also a black card. That's played in just like a bunch of decks.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've just been super off of Wishclaw lately. Just because I play more since I've gotten away from Grixis, I've been playing more control. And like it feels bad in my Tim and Malcolm deck where I'm just like, here's a tutor, guys. I'm not winning, right? I'm an Esper. I'm not winning right now. Late, it's definitely good. Or like, hey, I'm gonna play Wishclaw, tutor. I'm gonna bounce my Wishclaw back to my hand and
Yeah,
tutor. Right, like it's still good. Just for me, I'm on Beseech, Imperial Seal, Vamp Tutor, Demonic Tutor, all before that card. But like Roxai was insane because I didn't care. I was winning. I don't care. 3 mana, I win the game here. Right?
You can do it on instant speed on your turn. Costs a black and 2 colorless pips, which is probably a better rate than Grim Tutor. It's probably why Grim Tutor doesn't see the play that it should.
Yep. And 2 other things I want to add. It's about an hour 20 minutes. 2 other things. Yawgmoth's Will, I feel like, is really strong, but in the right deck.
Yeah.
I've played it in a couple decks where I'm like, maybe not. But like Galarb, it's fucking broken. Just accidentally broken. Any deck that just has it like that, I feel like Yawg's Will is really good. What do you think?
I think any deck that wants to do the breach type thing but doesn't have access to breach should definitely be on Yawg. Right? Because breach is going to be inherently 100%. Better than Yawg's Will. So if you're in red, just play breach. Right? But if you're in Sultai and you want to do busted graveyard stuff, Yawg's Will's great.
I love it in Sultai. Yeah, like my Tevis Thassios deck, it's like, okay, what do I want to get back? All my win cons, my Veil of Summer. I want to get back my Seaborn Muse, my Thoracle that got destroyed. I want to get back my Tana pack I used earlier, right?
Great, and
I think Yawg's Will is strong, but it's just one of those cards. It's very niche.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't go in every black deck. It feels bad in a lot of black decks, but in the right one, that late game, it feels powerful because you don't care about anything else. 3 mana, get my win con back. I win the game.
3 mana and have access to my entire graveyard to try for something again.
Yeah, especially a graveyard deck. I feel like building a graveyard deck now. I feel like it's just one of those underrated things. Like imagine in your Abzan deck with Protein Hulk stuff, and you're just like, Yawg's Will, I definitely win. Right?
Kind of the problem with like the creature loops that you need recurrent access to the graveyard. If you have to exile it when it hits the graveyard, it's not that good. So I don't play it in Abzan or Golgari for that reason. Right.
Well, that's what I was gonna add. That's like a niche thing. But like, just say Golgari, if you're not on Protein Hulk stuff, like a lot of the main win cons is the Witherbloom line. So it's like if that gets stopped, right? Like stuff like that for sure. Maybe not Protein Hulk decks because you're right, because you have a lot of like loops and Viscers here. And you have a lot of crazy shit. But like Sultai or the other Abzan decks, I can't remember that one deck. What's the guy with the big toughness?
In Abzan?
The partner. Yeah, he's black-green.
Ikra Shadiki?
Yeah. So a lot of Ikra decks, like Ikra Rog decks, a lot of those decks were on Yawg's Will because it was just like Ritual, Yawg's Will, Ritual, Ad Nauseam, or da-da-da-da-da. Like Yawg's Will is played in a lot of those like turbo, non-blue decks.
They had the options like Witherbloom Apprentice and Dualcaster, Twin Flame Molten Suspicion.
Yeah, Praetor's Grasp.
That sort of stuff where you don't need to loop the graveyard at all. But then they also had access to Breach, so they got the best of like both worlds, right? Where you can do the looping graveyard stuff, but then you can pivot and just do the one-time 2-card combo sort of deal.
Like the Jund, right?
Jund. I think Jund is, I mean, super unexplored right now in this post-mana. I think that might be like the new turbo color.
Corvold,
yeah. People are trying to make Corvold work again.
Rest in peace, Corvold.
I think there's some room for like Rog Ikra or Rog Rayhan stuff right now. That could be really powerful, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I think this format's a blast.
It's so much fun.
I think this is the most fun this format's been in 3 years.
I'm having a lot of fun right now in this meta.
Like, people don't scoff at me when I bring Glarb to the table. They're like, oh, it's Glarb. Before, they'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? Yeah. Now it's like, that's the name of my deck. Did Glarb just win? Somebody said that to me. I was like, yeah, I just won.
Hell yeah.
I cracked this Doomsday pile with Gush.
Yeah, there's so much innovation that's being done right now, and we're, I think, not even halfway to figuring out what's going on.
Yeah. Last card I want to talk about. We got 5 minutes. Sheoldred.
Yeah.
I feel like, as a commander, it sucks. It's good high power, right? But Sheoldred in a deck, like I had it in Tivit, and I don't care what anybody says, that was one of the best cards in Tivit. Because Tivit, it was a deck where I played it where you play all your mini hate bears like Douthie, which we didn't even talk about today. Douthie's probably going to be on this list somewhere if I was really thinking about it. But it, yeah, 10, 11, 12, 13 for sure, because Breach is still really good. But with Sheoldred, it's one of those I call them mini Tivits, where you played that card and you just forget it's there, like a Blood Chief in Italian. You just forget it's there, and you just keep burning and burning and burning, and oh, I windfalled here, and oh, now you're dead. Or oh, now I have my commander, and now I have a Death Touch. Or is it Menace or Death? Yes, Death Touch. And I just feel like Sheoldred is so underexplored in this format. People are so scared of a 4-mana card. It's insane. But Sheoldred puts so much fucking work in. What do you think about Sheoldred?
I haven't seen one recently. And even if I do see one, I'm not doing like... Right now, being an advocate, I'm not doing like the Rhystic Study stuff. Yeah.
I guess you're not on blue. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, right now, I don't have a strong opinion of Sheoldred post-meta. But maybe it does work. But I just think
in the right deck.
Yeah.
In the right deck for sure. I was also going to explore Sheoldred as a commander, but it's not. Mono Black's not there yet. But definitely in one of those, like if Winota was in black, or like Tivit wants to play more, like stuff like that, where you want a hate bear creature. Where the mid range is just going to be like they have that new 3-mana colorless thing where when someone draws a card deals with that damage, like those cards. And then one of the best cards I saw, I believe it was in Magna, my brother was playing, was Uba Mask. That's like the best card in this format right now. Do you know what that card does? It's a 4-mana. If someone were to draw a card, they exile the top card of their library, and they may play it this turn instead.
Oh, is that that's the one that combos with Draenith, where they just can't play cards anymore?
Yeah. Well, that's fine too, but just by itself, it's just a 4-mana artifact. So like, there is no untapping with all these counterspells, right? There is no untapping with all these cards in my hand. There is no, you have to play them. Like, say I'm going off and I'm feeding his Rhystic Study. And the beginning of his turn, those cards are gone away forever. What if his Thorkel's gone? What if his interaction's gone? What if his tutors are gone? That card is so strong. So cards like that I want to explore, and cards like Sheoldred I want to explore. I'm going to try to find a deck that it's like maybe like a soup good stuff pile that has those cards. And I just want to show people how greedy they are. They just take a Tymna Thrasios, a Tymna Crom list online, and they go, this is the best thing to do. I'm going to play this. And I want to build a deck that just hurts them, because I feel like Brewer's Advantage is the best it's ever been nowadays, like you. Like, yeah, Tymna Thrasios is probably the best deck, maybe Kennen, maybe Blue Farm, whatever. That's fine. But I'm looking to build a deck that I can bring to tournaments where people are like, what the fuck is that? Oh shit, he's doing something. I was talking to Charles, the mono white guy, about God, that guy's so fucking awesome. Suppression Field. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. You want to talk about a card that
it costs 2 more?
Yeah, all your activated abilities are 2 more. Fetch Lance?
That's right.
You know what a 4-color deck's gonna do to a suppression field? They're gonna fucking cry.
Like, no, I have to counter that right now.
Right, you counter it or we're dead. Yeah. So I'm brewing. I'm cooking a couple little stacks decks, little decks that have those cards effects in them, where it's just like, hey, I'm gonna hurt you if you do the normal thing. The niche decks obviously are gonna be fine, but just I'm looking at the top 5 decks that I think are, and I'm building a deck that's good against all of them. Like, you ever cast a Curse Totem in this fucking economy? People crumble. People are like, oh my god, I can get around Grafter's Cage. I can't get around a Cursed Totem. I have to remove that. Yep. Okay, cool. All right. I'm going to wait for you to cast your birds. You're a mana dork. I'm going to wait for you to get your Sisay down, and I'm going to cast a Cursed Totem and watch you cry. And then I'm going to play the game.
Yeah. That's I'm
going to play the Suppression
Totem, because that does affect everyone, including yourself. I am on Drana and Vala, though, as like another effect like that.
That card's really strong.
Pretty good.
But like Malcolm Tymna, the only activate ability I have is Ranger Captain.
That makes sense, yeah.
That's it. Okay,
and you have
I'm cool.
Multiple silence effects to replace that if you need to.
100%. Or, like, I just don't play it. Or if I am playing Cursed Totem, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not looking for a Ranger Captain. Like,
the
games I'm casting Cursed... But like the games I'm casting Cursed Totem in, I'm probably ahead, or I'm doing a lot of work to that pod where I don't need a Ranger Captain or have a Grand Abolisher or a Silence or an insert card here, right? So that's why, again, it's flexible. But we got off black. But anyways, that's the pod. Thanks for everybody watching. Black is probably top 2 color. Definitely most flexible. 100%. Spoiler alert. Most flexible card. It's going to be in the title of this video. Or most flexible color. I didn't realize how flexible it was until I started talking to Nybar. Yeah, so we got Orcish, Adnoz, Darkrit, Tainapac, Necro, Oppo, Toxic Deluge, Douthy Voidwalker, Cabal Ritual, fucking all the tutors, Deadly Rollick, the best fucking
it just
removal.
Keeps getting more stuff too. Like we just got Hazel's Brewmaster.
Forgot to talk about that card.
Another card that I think we need to watch out for is I had it here. The it's Abyssal something or another. Abyssal Harvester. I don't know if you saw that in Foundations.
What's that do?
1 and 2 black for Demon, Warlock, 3/2. Tap, exile target creature from a graveyard that was put there this turn. Create a token that's a copy of it, except as a nightmare, in addition to its other types, and then exile other nightmare tokens. Just like put it out there, and then whenever you want to snipe a creature from a graveyard, whenever it dies, you just bring it back into play.
What's the name of it?
Abyssal Harvester.
Abyssal Harvester?
I think that's going to see some play.
Yeah, I'll look it up later. Also, another card I wanted to add. I know I'm getting off, but the new Rev.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I didn't even talk about Rev.
That card in my Tim to Malcolm deck is a fucking house. 4 mana. When a creature deals combat damage, I create a treasure. When one or more creatures, and then they exile the top like a Praetor's Grasp, and I may play them till the end of the game. And then it's face down, and no one sees it. That card is Oh, and you give one of your creatures Death Touch.
So something's getting through. You're getting a treasure, and you're getting a card for whatever creature connects. You connect with 3 players, 3 treasures, 3 cards.
In Tim to Malcolm?
It's so good.
And then I'm getting a treasure, and I'm drawing cards.
That's so much advantage.
that
so
card's
advantage.
Yeah, black is one of those colors. Black and blue are those colors that are just like a Sisei commander, where it's only gonna get better. They're always gonna print legends. They're always gonna print good blue-black cards. It's just that's kind of the thing is, the free cycle that the Flare Malice, Flare Duplication. The white one, and then you had the green one, Flare of Cultivation, where it's like, right. So the blue-black one's really good, and then the green one's like, oh, this fucking sucks.
Yeah, it was like the blue and red ones are like top tier. Black one was pretty good. White one so-so. Green one basically doesn't see any play at all.
Trash. Yeah, 100%. And that's just the way of Magic. They love blue-black. And that's fine. I'm here for it. I'm a Doomir player. I love Gyruda.
It's really sad because I would have enjoyed having like a green flare that's basically like another Crop Rot. Sack a green creature, get a land into play. Like that wouldn't have been too crazy.
Right. I agree. The problem is green in other formats are busted. Right. But I mean, green got way better post-ban. But anyways, that's the podcast. We appreciate it, Nybar.
Have me on.